Let's be honest. Most people don't have a clue. Let's cut the crap. Crypto content these days? It's all noise. Everyone's screaming about the next 100x meme coin. Everyone's acting like they understand adoption, regulation, macroeconomics, liquidity. But most of them are just riding trends they barely understand. And if you bring up Stellar or XLM, you get laughed at. Too slow. Old tech. No hype. But here's the thing. Every cycle, the real winners are the ones that nobody paid attention to while the crowd was distracted. And right now, XLM is quietly threading itself into the future of how value moves across borders, across banks, and across blockchains. And no one's telling you that. Let's get something straight right now. Stellar is not some trendy meme coin riding on Elon Musk tweets or Reddit pump groups. It's not trying to be the next community token or build a cult following on social media. And honestly, that's why most people overlook it. Because XLM doesn't try to impress you with hype. It just works. But here's the mistake everyone makes. They treat Stellar like it's just another token in the sea of altcoins. It's not. XLM is the fuel, not the product. The mechanism, not the narrative. It's like calling electricity the appliance. No, electricity powers the appliance. That's XLM. It powers an entirely separate financial layer being built behind the scenes. Let me paint a real-world picture. Imagine sending money from Nigeria to Colombia, or from Kenya to the Philippines. Normally that involves a mess of middlemen. Correspondent banks, currency exchanges, clearing delays, and fees stacked on fees. Stellar cuts all of that out and replaces it with a direct, programmable, real-time settlement system that costs a fraction of a penny and takes seconds. Now here's the wild part. You don't even need to know that Stellar is doing the heavy lifting. You don't need to hold XLM or understand the blockchain jargon. You just open the app, tap, send, and it's done. That's the genius of it. It's not designed to impress crypto bros. It's designed to work for everyone else. This is what people don't get. XLM is not a brand play. It's a back-end infrastructure layer. It's not competing with Ethereum, Solana, or Bitcoin for attention. It's not trying to win a popularity contest. It's trying to win contracts with banks, fintechs, and global remittance companies. And it's already doing that. Companies across Latin America are using Stellar to move digital dollars across borders faster than Swift. Fintech startups in Africa are building payment corridors between mobile wallets and bank accounts, and they're doing it on Stellar. MoneyGram, one of the world's largest remittance players, has a live integration using Stellar to convert stablecoins into cash and vice versa. None of that screams moon, but all of it screams infrastructure. And here's the kicker. A lot of these businesses don't even mention Stellar in their marketing. Why? Because the customer doesn't care. They care that the transaction works, that it's fast, that it's cheap, that it's available. Do you care if your bank uses AWS or Google Cloud? Exactly. You just want your app to open and your money to be there. That's how Stellar is winning. It's not trying to be front and center. It's building the rails that everything else will eventually run on. So when someone says, XLM isn't doing anything, that tells you they're only watching price charts. They're not watching adoption metrics. They're not watching developer activity. They're not watching regulatory integrations. They're not even asking the right questions. Because here's the truth. If Stellar is working the way it's supposed to, you're not supposed to see it. You're not supposed to say, wow, look at Stellar. You're supposed to say, wow, why did that international payment only cost $0.002 and arrive in 5 seconds? XLM isn't built for visibility. It's built for inevitability. And that's what makes it dangerous to the old system and valuable to the new one. Let's stop pretending. Crypto's current narrative isn't about innovation. It's not about solving real problems. And it's definitely not about creating a better financial system. Right now, it's about clout. It's about who can go viral, not who can build. It's about followers, not fundamentals. And most of the time, the biggest winners on paper are just the loudest ones on socials. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Some project posts a half-baked teaser with buzzwords like AI, depin, or real yield. And suddenly it's up 300% in a week. No roadmap, no users, no traction. Just a logo, a catchy name, and a thread from someone with laser eyes in their profile pic. Meanwhile, you've got Stellar, quietly facilitating cross-border payments in over 180 countries. You've got XLM, fueling transactions for financial institutions, not just DX Degans. But because there's no army of influencers hyping it up every 8 hours, people assume it's dead. Let that sink in. The project actually doing the work. Integrating with banks, working with regulators, onboarding users who've never heard the word blockchain. That's the one the market sleeps on. Why? Because it doesn't dance on TikTok. That's how backwards this space has become. And let's be real. Crypto used to be about fixing things. Fixing slow payments. Fixing middlemen. Fixing financial exclusion. Fixing the gatekeeping that kept billions of people out of the global economy. But somewhere along the way, it became a casino. We went from bank the unbanked to buy the rumor, sell the news. We went from disrupting Visa to launching Shiba Elmo token V3. We started worshipping volatility instead of verifiable value. And that's where XLM and projects like Stellar totally break the narrative. Because they were never trying to be cool. They were trying to be useful. And usefulness? That's what actual institutions care about. Think about who Stellar is working with. The UN has used Stellar for disbursing humanitarian aid. The Ukrainian government tested issuing a CBDC on Stellar. Franklin Templeton, a literal trillion-dollar asset manager, tokenized money market funds on Stellar. MoneyGram? They're converting cash to USDC on Stellar rails in retail stores right now. Do you think any of those entities care about hype? Do you think they want to bet their systems on some chain that crashes every other month or forks every time a DAO vote gets bought? No chance. They want 3 things: compliance, know your customer; anti-money laundering, audit trails; interoperability, move value between banks, fintechs, and chains without friction. Finality, when a transaction settles, it settles. No rollback. Number 12-minute confirmations. Those are the metrics that matter when real money is involved. And the truth is, most of crypto can't meet that bar. They weren't built for it. They were built to attract speculators, not service providers. They were built for volatility, not volume. They were optimized for attention, not adoption. And look, there's nothing wrong with innovation. But hype without infrastructure is a ticking time bomb. And guess what? We're starting to see it burst. Projects with zero fundamentals are collapsing the moment retail stops paying attention. DX volume is drying up. Tokenomics Ponzi's are unraveling. And regulators? They're circling like hawks. Meanwhile, Stellar has been building a compliance-first, utility-first, institution-ready protocol for years. Not because it wanted headlines, but because it was designed to do what others are just now pretending to care about. And if you're wondering why the price hasn't moved, that's part of the misunderstanding. Because when institutions build on a protocol, they don't announce it with fireworks. They integrate it silently, test it privately, and scale it quietly. They don't tweet, they deploy. And that's what's happening with Stellar right now. This isn't a flashy layer 1 trying to sell you dreams. It's an actual financial bridge being adopted by the parts of the world that don't care about Twitter sentiment. That's why XLM is misunderstood. It doesn't fit the narrative. Because the narrative is broken. And Stellar? It's building what comes after. Stellar isn't competing, it's collaborating. This part is key. Stellar doesn't want to replace the financial system. It wants to work with it. And that's what makes it different from 99% of crypto projects. Look at Ethereum, it's powerful but chaotic. Look at Solana, fast, but not always stable. Look at Bitcoin, respected but limited. Now look at Stellar. Runs stablecoins like USDC natively. Supports on-chain KYC if needed. Can be integrated directly with banks and mobile money platforms. Has SDKs in multiple languages so devs don't need to learn crypto. Offers predictable fees, not volatile gas costs. This isn't about building another casino. This is about being the piping system for the digital economy, quietly, efficiently, compliantly. That's why Franklin Templeton used Stellar. That's why MoneyGram used Stellar. That's why the UN used Stellar. Because it's not trying to be flashy. It's trying to work. The real flex? Soroban isn't Ethereum 2.0. It's something else entirely. Let's switch gears. Smart contracts. Everyone loves them. Until you try to use them. On Ethereum, you pay $40 to send $10. On Solana, it's fast, but it goes down like it's running on hotel Wi-Fi. Soroban changes the game. It's Stellar's smart contract layer, built separately, intentionally lightweight, and designed with a very different purpose. Not to launch meme coins, not to farm and dump, not to attract degens, but to build systems, lending platforms, asset issuance protocols, cross-border fintech tools that need speed, security, and cost certainty. Soroban is being used to build tools for real economies, not just liquidity loops. The people building on Soroban, they're not influencers. They're developers at fintechs, banks, and real-world businesses. That's the difference. And that's why you haven't heard much about it until now. You're watching the infrastructure phase, and most people are missing it. Everyone's looking for fireworks. What they don't realize is we're in the infrastructure phase of crypto. And infrastructure is boring until it's everything. Think about the early days of the internet. Nobody cared about TCP, IP. Nobody hyped up DNS servers. But today, that's how the entire web runs. Stellar is at that same layer for value movement. The rails, the backbone, the boring stuff that ends up running the world. And in 5 years, when your CBDC or stablecoin is moving cross-border in seconds for 0.001 cent, you won't be thinking XLM. But it'll be there. Why the price doesn't move until it does. Let's address the elephant in the room. Bro, if XLM is so good, why is the price down? Let me ask you this. Was TCP, IP ever a stock? Did DNS servers pump in 2002? No, because infrastructure doesn't pump until it becomes essential. Right now, most of XLM's usage is back-end. Bank integrations, fintech tools, developer grants, smart contract pilots. It's not sexy. It's not viral. But when regulation forces chains to comply, when stablecoin flows shift from hype chains to compliance-first networks, when real capital starts demanding finality and clarity, that's when XLM reprices violently. You don't front-run hype. You front-run adoption. What they're not telling you, the institutional footprint is already here. Here's what no one on Twitter is showing you. Behind the scenes, XLM is already institutionalized. Wallets with hundreds of millions of XLM, tied to banks, payment corridors, fintech APIs, are live. Smart contracts that settle regulated asset transfers, being deployed. Stellar is listed on Zero Hash, the B2B crypto infrastructure used by Robinhood, SoFi, and Chime. And you know what that means? Retail doesn't need to touch Stellar. They'll be using apps powered by Stellar without even knowing it. And that's the masterstroke. When you don't even realize you're using crypto, that's when crypto has actually won. The numbers back it up, but no one's looking. Let's go data-driven for a second. Recent stats from the Stellar Foundation. Over 1.1 billion operations processed in Q2 alone. Nearly 10 million active accounts. A 43% increase in USDC on Stellar year over year. Over $300 million in cross-border volume processed in the last 60 days. Dev grant applications up over 200% quarter over quarter. This is real. This isn't a white paper promise. And the growth isn't retail-fueled. It's B2B, infrastructure-driven, and compliance-backed. Which is why crypto Twitter ignores it. It's not loud, but it's happening and it's scaling. The great tokenization wave is coming, and Stellar is already positioned. You've heard the buzz. Tokenized real estate, tokenized treasuries, tokenized bonds and securities. It's not a fantasy anymore. BlackRock, JP Morgan, HSBC, they're all on board. But here's what no one's saying. Most blockchains can't actually support this. They don't have built-in identity tools. They don't support compliance at the protocol level. They're not fast, cheap, or stable enough. Stellar checks every box. Real-time settlement, built-in asset issuance, KYC compliance support, proven track record with tokenized funds, deep integration with stablecoins. So while the market prepares for this next phase, Stellar is already in it. Everyone is wrong, because they're looking in the wrong direction. Let me wrap with this. Everyone is wrong about XLM for one simple reason. They're looking at it like a coin, when it's actually a protocol. They're chasing pumps, while Stellar is building plumbing. They're betting on hype, while Stellar is betting on regulation. They want visibility, while Stellar is building invisibility. And by the time the infrastructure becomes visible, by the time money flows start defaulting to compliant, stable, interoperable networks, it'll be too late to get in early. So ask yourself, do you want to be in before the crowd or after? Because this next era, it won't be about which coin can meme the hardest. It'll be about which protocol can move the world's value reliably, compliantly, and instantly.